This is Dr. Andrew Jones. In this edition of Veterinary Secrets, I'm going to be discussing dogs with recurrent urinary tract infections, why it's properly happening, and some natural remedies that you can be using to likely treat this at home. Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, welcome. Today's video is about recurring urinary tract infections in dogs. I've had a number of different questions about them lately. In particular, just two different pet owners submitted a similar question. They're having problems with their dogs, recurring urinary tract infections, being on repeated doses of antibiotics. And they're just kind of wondering, are there any home remedies that I could consider using, or things perhaps that my veterinarian hasn't thought of? Fortunately, yes, there are. I'm going to go over about 4 or 5 of them in today's video, along with my demonstrating dog, Pippi. There she is. A little bit about recurrent UTIs, or urinary tract infections. In general, for whatever reason, it seems to be more common in the sort of young, middle-aged female dogs than our male dogs. As far as the potential underlying causes, there are many. In terms of, it could range from a resistant bacteria. It could range from bacteria that colonizes the outside of your dog's vulva. And especially in these spayed female dogs, they may be slightly incontinent. Then it can make its way up into the urinary tract. There may be urinary stones. There may be an underlying immune-related problem in terms of where perhaps your dog is immunosuppressed. Maybe they've got some other metabolic disease going on, such as diabetes, for instance, or Cushing's disease, that can then make them more prone to infections. Maybe they have hypothyroid disease, making them more prone to infections such as urinary tract infections. Those are all possibilities. So what I found in veterinary practice, that for a majority of dogs that came in with recurring urinary tract infections, we weren't able to find an obvious underlying cause. We couldn't find any underlying metabolic disease. It wasn't like there's sort of one big thing, even about the different things we read about. So then it really fell to doing repeated urine cultures. We're trying to figure out what bacteria is growing, what antibiotic is best. In some cases, these dogs were on ongoing antibiotics, very frustrating. And if you're a dog owner with a dog such as with this specific condition, I think it's really important you consider some of the following home remedies. So the first big principle, where's Pippi leaving us, is more fluid going into your dog, regardless, however you're going to get it. I mean, the single biggest thing in terms of helping bladder issues, regardless of the underlying cause, where we're trying to deal with bladder infections, is getting more fluid into the bladder. By doing so, it'll dilute whatever's there, help flush out that bacteria, make it far less likely for your dog to get a bladder infection in the first place. One of the other things, so this is kibble, so less of this, less of that kibble, and more of this. This is canned food. It contains a ton of moisture. As you can see, Pippi likes canned food. Pippi loves food, period. The more food that you can get into your dog, the better. However you get more fluid in, adding water to their bowl, adding water to their kibble if you're still feeding kibble to make it more moist, substituting canned food. However you can get as much fluid as you can into your dog. There's a number of different home remedies I want to discuss. The first one is going to be probiotics. And what that means, those are the good beneficial bacteria. Girl Pipster, you can stay there. Those are the good beneficial bacteria that can do a couple things for these dogs with recurring UTIs. First of all, we know that they'll help if your dog's on antibiotics, prevent secondary issues, this bacterial overgrowth, because we know those antibiotics also harm the intestinal bacteria. Secondly, we know that the probiotics themselves will help your dog's overall immune health. So we know a big portion of their immune system lies in their intestinal tract. Those good bacteria, those probiotics are colonizing that, making the immune system much more primed, able to fight the infections in the first place. And thirdly, there's some thought that the probiotics themselves, primarily Lactobacillus acidophilus, which is probably the more common probiotic to give. I mean, it's in this here yogurt, that's Lactobacillus is in there. And if you're looking at sort of doses of, if you're looking at the capsule and trying to figure out a dose, generally looking at 100 million CFUs, or colony forming units, per 10 pounds of body weight daily. The next home remedy I want to have you consider is honey, and honey could be in combination. But honey in particular is very effective against many of the common bacteria, such as the staph bacteria, such as E. coli, that can be causing these recurrent urinary tract infections. So there's a couple simple ways to be giving honey. So here it is here. This is unpasteurized local honey, which is ideal. And if you're sort of trying to figure out a dose, generally what I'm saying is about a teaspoon per 10 pounds of body weight daily. So figure that out accordingly. There's 3 teaspoons in a tablespoon. So something like Pippi, she'd get sort of 1 to 2 tablespoons. I'd be inclined to give her 1 tablespoon twice a day of honey. A third way would be to be giving the honey with something like green tea. Green tea is also antibacterial, and not only that, so here's some green tea they made here. Just made sort of a pot or a cup of green tea. So the green tea is antibacterial, so we know it's providing potentially antibacterial effects on the bacteria causing the UTI. But also you just mix it with honey. So you can mix, if we're giving Pippi, I could just put a tablespoon, for instance, a tablespoon of this, I have to get the right spoon here. I would just put a good tablespoon of the honey, just mix that up into this green tea, and then either one, just add that directly to her water bowl, assuming she's going to consume it, or the second option would be to actually squirt it into her mouth. As far as an approximate amount, for something like Pippi, about a 50-pound dog, I'd want to be giving her a cup of the green tea throughout the day. So we're looking at a dose of about a cup of green tea, 1 to 2 tablespoons of honey per 50 pounds of body weight daily. The fourth thing, the principle of that, is getting more fluid into the bladder itself. Because we know by doing that, we're diluting whenever the bacteria is there. We're flushing that bacteria out of the bladder. So another easy way to do that is with a good natural diuretic. And that's what I have here. This is dandelion leaf tincture. And you can also just use dry dandelion leaves, mix those into your dog's food. Or else if you have the tincture, and we're looking at tincture doses, I'm looking at a dose of about a half a mil per 20 pounds of body weight daily. So something like Pippi, be a mil. So I'll show you my measured here. So it'd be a mil twice a day. So generally the tinctures, the actual droppers, are about a mil. There, so there's Pippi. So right there, that's about 1 mil of dandelion. So Pippi's dose be one of these twice a day, and I would just squirt that into her mouth. A real good way to get more fluid into her bladder and helping potentially treat that recurring UTI. Last thing I want to discuss is the use of apple cider vinegar, which I have here. And for many of the urinary tract infections, if we can make that urine more acidic, we can potentially kill that bacteria, make it less likely for them to recur and recolonize again. And apple cider vinegar itself is generally healthy for us and for our pets. It's got antifungal properties, many other potential medicinal properties to it. So for something like Pippi here, I'm typically doing about a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar for 10 pounds of body weight. So Pippi we get about a tablespoon twice a day. And either you could look at just adding that to her water, see if she'll drink it. Or secondly, just adding water, diluting it out, and then using a syringe and squirting it into your dog's mouth. But it's another option, especially if you've tried some of the other ones. Say you've tried the honey and green tea, you're still getting the recurrent UTIs. Then this would be one other option that many of you have probably not heard of that you could also consider. Thanks once again to you guys for watching this video. You might have seen a little bit rushed, but that's because my battery's like flashing red. It's almost about to die out. So I had to speed things up. I hope you've got some useful information there. And if you've got a dog with a recurrent UTI, you try some of those suggestions. I'm hoping that helps. Either way, I'd love to hear feedback from you and also additional suggestions for further videos. So by all means, send me your suggestions as well. Thank you for watching this edition of Veterinary Secrets of recurrent urinary tract infections in dogs. What I want you to do now is first click below to like this video, click up there to subscribe to my channel, and then lastly, I want you to go ahead, click that link right in the box below, and then when you sign up for my newsletter, I can send you my free books on videos on how to heal your dogs at home with my top natural remedies.